Did you know that there is such a thing known as narcissistic abuse victim syndrome? And people who have been in relationships with people who are suffering from narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and people with antisocial traits can and often do develop symptoms which are usually rooted in emotional neglect in their childhood, as the victim will re-experience powerful, painful feelings from this time, and the symptoms of CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And some common traits of narcissistic abuse victim syndrome are re-experiencing abusive acts and comments made by the abuser, hypersensitivity, trouble sleeping, being frightened easily, and difficulty concentrating with occasional outbursts of anger, anxiety, being in constant fight or flight mode all of the time. This can lead to emotional fatigue that manifests itself somatically as illnesses from hives to autoimmune disorders to even cancer. And being triggered by stimuli, which recalls this traumatic event, these traumatic moments in the relationship, they're popping up all of the time and when you least expect them. There can be repetition compulsions, reenacting traumatic events in an attempt to gain closure, because with cluster B personality disorders, people rarely get closure. This may include, but is not limited to, stalking their abuser online, negative self-talk, new abusive relationships, usually when a victim jumps right into another relationship after the narcissist. They're 99% out of the time another narcissist. And they are doing, in other words, what they are doing is trying to complete what wasn't previously completed with the previous narcissist. They have a very skewed reality, a perception of reality, and a lot of paranoia. There is an inability to trust the self and others, withdrawal, extreme withdrawal and isolation from others and their social activities, if not stopping them altogether, an obsession with their abuser, flashbacks, dissociative episodes, and the possible consequences of narcissistic abuse victim syndrome include the inability to handle stress, eating disorders, drug addictions, damaged relationships with family members, friends, and others, a negative outlook on life, depression, specifically anxiety disorders such as panic attacks, disassociation, depersonalization, and new phobias, suicide attempts, actual suicide, crippled self-esteem diseases, cancer, loss of career and the desire to be productive, hair loss, among others. Symptoms of narcissistic abuse victim syndrome during or after the relationship with a malignant narcissist, and this is what follows. You experience a disassociation as a survival mechanism. You can feel like you are having a constant, like a panic attack, but it just doesn't stop. It just goes on, and you feel like you are outside of your body. You don't recognize yourself in the mirror. You feel disconnected. Your consciousness feels disconnected from your body. It's a terrifying experience. I was stuck in a dissociative episode for about 3.5 months, and some people don't ever snap out of them, which is even more terrifying. You still find yourself walking on eggshells. You put your own needs and desires aside, sacrificing your emotional and even psychological safety to please this abuser. You develop this pervasive sense of mistrust and self-isolate and become obsessed with either pleasing the abuser or learning all you can about narcissistic personality disorder, and sometimes this occurs simultaneously. You are struggling with health issues and somatic symptoms that represent They are the physical manifestation of your psychological turmoil. And you have a harsh inner voice, an inner critic, due to your abuser's unpredictable and inconsistent reactions to you, often to the point of there's a lot of magical thinking and blaming yourself for the abuse. You find yourself wondering if you are good enough, and you are comparing yourself to others, mainly the new supply source or the prospective new supply source, if you have figured out who that is. You feel very protective and jealous over your abuser, and you are devoted to helping and or fixing them. You suffer from intrusive thoughts, memories, and physical emotional reactions to the reminders of them. Difficulty concentrating, sleeping, and feeling connected to reality. Again, there's that derealization, depersonalization. There's a lot of confusion that is caused by cognitive dissonance due to the gaslighting, the reframing, the blaming, the silent treatments, and the inconsistent opinions of others, and other things that form the covert abuse that you are going through or have gone through. And you will experience flashbacks to the abuse that can cause panic attacks and, again, dissociative episodes. You are hypervigilant, irritable, and you are in there's a heightened startle response. Traumatic bonding to the abuser caused by the cycle of intermittent reinforcement or intermittent rewards and punishments after abuse. Your brain responds even to the tiniest bit of crumb of kindness with a high that is similar to that. It's like a dopamine release. It's similar to that of an opioid, and is just as addictive. Your mind is absolutely terrified and fearful, full of anxiety and anxiousness, questioning yourself constantly. You have become numb to your feelings, and you kind of want to cry and you can't, because the happiness is sucked right out of you, and you have completely forgotten the real meaning of happiness. And there was this once confident, bright, smiling face who is now shook to the very core of their foundation. Dejected face, barely scrapping through life, is in fact, and all of your hobbies, their passions are in fact taken from them. They don't interest us as victims anymore. We cannot sleep, like I said. We lose our appetite and we lose weight, or we gain weight, and we lie in a deep pool of guilt, and we sometimes question why we are even alive. And then it comes the paranoid states, and we're constantly looking out for the flying monkeys and the narcissist. And this is CPTSD, and this narcissistic abuse victim syndrome is real, as many people suffer from this, and unfortunately there is no law to stop it.